Extraordinary Women in Tech is a global sisterhood of women supporting women. A peer-to-peer networking platform where female executives exchange innovative ideas on technology and leadership and inspire each other to reach personal and professional goals. We unite the brightest female minds in IT through webinars and local conferences around the world, all culminating in our crowning event. Join us at our upcoming global conference at the Intercontinental Hotel in San Francisco on October 3rd and 4th, 2022. Add your name to our guest list alongside female leaders from companies like Google and Meta. And celebrate with us as we amplify women's voices in IT.
Welcome. My name is Julia Lopez, and I'm a talent acquisition manager here at Avenue Code. Thank you for attending today's edition of Extraordinary Women in Tech. I'm very, very happy to bring this panel to you today to talk about female leadership in the IT world, with the goal to provide insights on career and truly inspire everyone listening today with some amazing stories. In case you have questions during the presentation, feel free to use the comment section and we'll go through the questions here. And so I want to, first of all, present those four wonderful women that are here today and ask them actually to introduce their career and talk a little bit about your biggest passion and your mission as well. So start with you, Christine. So you want to go first, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what would you consider to be your biggest mission and passion?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Christine Wood. I'm Senior Director for Product and Engineering at Cox Automotive here in Canada. We're part of a large organization which has many brands. Consider ourselves to be a software company. I have a long history in IT, so started out probably 20 plus years ago at Bell Canada. And that's what started my journey. It was way back when the internet first came out as well. So it was exciting times. I'm dating Canada a bit, but that's okay. And I was there for 10 years and learned a lot and managed a team. We did a store rollout of Bell World stores there. That was my biggest accomplishment there. And we did about 800 stores in 1 year. And it was the old Bell phone centers, and we brought them up to the internet and new technologies. Traveled a lot during that time and had a really great technical team that worked across Canada. I then moved into Rogers. I was not at Bell. I just didn't feel challenged anymore, and I like to be busy. Need to be busy. Need to find new challenges. So I moved over to Rogers. So in the telco industry again, and we were the first ones to launch. Very proud of my team there. We were the first ones to launch streaming services in Canada. It was Show Me. And so it was all metadata that we had to put together, and the technical, a lot of technical details on that with the streaming. And we did it all in house. We didn't at that time, there was no one really doing it. And then of course, 2 or 3 years after we launched it, we took it out of the market because we didn't own any of the content. So it was really expensive for Rogers to do that. So it was very interesting. So Show Me is an equivalent to Crave for those.
Oops, I think it cut off for me. It did for you all? Christine, can you hear us? Christine, you're back?
Yes, can you still hear?
Yes.
I'm on the wonderful Starlink from Elon Musk. So it says my internet is unstable. Anyways, so I was at Rogers for 10 years, and then I moved over to a startup called Quick Play. And it was streaming service as well. And it was built from the ground up as well. A lot of metadata that we dealt with. And movies, genres, who the actors were, that type of metadata. And about 5 years ago, they were bought out by AT&T. So we went through that process of the buyout. That was a lot of fun. Well, I got to go to California a lot because AT&T's head office is in El Segundo. So California is lovely. I got to go there a fair bit to do all of our PI planning. And then about 4 years ago now, almost, I moved over to Cox Automotive, and a former boss of mine that I used to work at Rogers got a job as CTO at Cox Automotive. And he kind of tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, are you looking for a change?" And I said, "Sure." He goes, "How about automotive?" And I went, "Whoa, I know nothing about automotive." And he goes, "Think of it this way. It's, same metadata, but it's year, make, model, trim for the cars." I'm like, "Oh, I can do that. Sure, I can do that in my sleep. No problem." So about 4 years ago now, almost, I joined Cox Automotive, and that's what's brought me here today. So thanks for having me, Julia. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. What an awesome journey. Thank you for sharing. Geneviève, do you want to go next and talk a little bit about your career?
Oui, avec plaisir. Mon nom est Geneviève Bertrand. But don't worry, everybody, I will not address this group in French today. But with a name like Geneviève Bertrand, I have to put it in. So I have the pleasure to lead an amazing team as the Senior VP of Information Technology at Kruger. Kruger was known initially for newsprint, so we had to transform ourselves with the arrival of all those electronic things into many more extraordinary businesses within the packaging, and recently the golden toilet paper. So if you've never seen the commercial, I invite you to go watch Unapologetically Human, which is a wonderful commercial about us. I am an operating management business major, and I'm very, and I've always been curious about how human beings learn and transfer knowledge. I joined Accenture, a consulting company, in 1995. This is where I really discovered technology as the great efficiency and learning enabler. And this technology, this tool has been in my toolbox as a wonderful career asset so far. Consulting allowed me to discover many industries and technologies. So I was part of the Rogers-Fido merger. I worked at CN. I worked in copper and gold, all across the world. And after 19 years, I decided to move into something else. So I had the privilege to lead the Desjardins General Insurance IT team. That's at the time when we launched Ajusto 2.0, which is a technology that tracks your conduite, your driving behaviors, and allows you to have a discount based on how you drive. For me, technology has to be something that helps you every day, and you'll hear that towards the conversation today. At Desjardins, my teams were saying, "Madame Bertrand, you always talk about manufacturing." But I said, yes, of course. If you're a financial institution, technology is the manufacturer of your intangible goods. But after 4 years, I finally found my true calling at Kruger. I am so happy to be wearing reinforced shoes, to be visiting manufacturing floors and energy operation asset. On your question about bigger mission and passion, it's definitely about learning, about automating shop floor repetitive tasks and back office mundane tasks. Like, there's no value in reading an email to find keywords when a digital robots can do that. And using technology so that it can help each and every person fully exploit their brain and gray matter to innovate and make the work better every day. So that's it for me.
Awesome. Yeah, that's inspiring. Thank you, Geneviève. Alina, you want to go next?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. First, thank you for having me here today. My name is Alina Zan. I'm a senior data scientist at Royal Bank of Canada. With RBC, I apply machine learning technologies on financial data sets for investment ideations and so on. Fresh out of the university, I started my career at IBM as a software developer for relational databases. After about 2.5 years with IBM, I worked with a few AI companies. As a data scientist, my daily job is leveraging machine learning algorithms on different projects, such as natural language processing, recommender system, anomaly detection, and so on. My motto is serving humanity with AI, and I put it on my LinkedIn profile to remind myself. We know the power of AI and how people can benefit from it if we can use this technology properly. With this mission, I have published some articles and courses on Medium.com and Udemy about statistics, machine learning, and deep learning. My motivation behind this is to share the knowledge and experience, and together we can serve humanity with AI. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great passion. Thank you. Thank you, Alina. Thank you for being here. Last but not least, Elizabeth, can you introduce yourself to us?
Absolutely. Elizabeth Frohneiser. I'm the Director General of Email and Workplace Technology Services at Shared Service Canada. So Shared Service Canada, or SSC, is the infrastructure and operations backend, if you will, of 45 partners across the Government of Canada. So that equates to about, I would say, approximately 500,000 users. My teams have a few service lines. We do the hardware and software provisioning for the government. We also do email services for the government, as well as Microsoft 365. So it's called our Digital Communications and Collaboration Platform, and we brought that in. I just joined last year, actually, so I'm there a year before, but SSC was fundamental in getting the Government of Canada to a new world, if you will, when the pandemic hit. If it wasn't for Shared Services Canada, we wouldn't have been able to pivot the way we did. And I speak to that from experience, because prior to this role, I was the Chief Information Officer at the Public Service Commission. So I had a great 2.5 years there. And the last year of it was transitioning the organization into a remote world. And that was very much, when you're a 110-year organization, there's a lot of culture there. We ran a teleworking pilot for 3 years. So that tells you it was a huge change. For me, I've spent, prior to that, I was working with the CIO of the Government of Canada, working very much on strategy and running some of the kind of more strategic aspects of the organization at Treasury Board of Canada Secretariat. But I also had a great opportunity to lead the Community Management Office. This is the office that worked with CIOs across the government, as well as looking at the talent of our CS. So about, at the time, I want to say about 17,000 employees that were working directly on CS work. And prior to that, I had 17 years of kind of cybersecurity, critical infrastructure protection work in various organizations. For me, it is all about digital, and digital is all about bringing people, technology, and processes together. So my biggest passion is bridging the world of tech or cyber to the business world. And about 4 years ago, I completed my executive MBA, which was one of something I wanted to do for about 10 years prior to that. And also, not just digital and what it can do for organizations and business, but also I have a huge interest on digital and the impacts on our workforce. So these are the people we need to actually advance and develop, but we also have to make a conscious effort that in this new world, we have to lead differently and connect with people intentionally. So that's another kind of area that I'm very interested in.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, since I think I already feel inspired by your presentation and your career. So to start off with that, I think one of the things that I wanted to touch upon so the audience can be inspired and learn from everyone is about who were the people that inspired us in the first place? What were the things in our lives that kind of drove us into this direction? So this question, actually, I'm going to direct for Geneviève and Christine. So Who was your biggest inspiration in your career, and why do you think that person is? So whoever want to go first, that would be awesome.
Sure. Genevieve, I'll go first, and then there even could be overlaps. Who knows? I mean, when you think about it, it's there could be a lot of things personally, a lot of people personally, but also people professionally. Gloria Steinem, for obvious reasons, and through her, I got introduced to Clarissa E. Pinkola, who wrote "Women Who Run with the Wolves," and that book kind of changed my life. It helped me get through a really bad marriage long time ago, probably 20 plus years ago now. It gave me strength. It helped me get a voice, which I don't think in my 20s I really had a good voice. I definitely do now. And personally, I've had many different people as mentors throughout my career professionally. I had a Bell mentor many years ago when I was there, and he taught me how to listen more. Interesting enough, I mean, I've never reported to a woman before, and found that out recently after chatting with a bunch of women through your group, right? It was like, someone asked me that and I went, oh, wow, I've actually never, reported into a woman. But so all of my mentors have really been men, but they've been throughout different parts of my career. And the interesting thing is that I look at it as, when I needed something, those mentors were there to help me through those problems. So I always sought out those people that could help me, whether it was, how to handle a project, how to handle certain people, those types of things. And they helped me get through a lot of difficult times in my life, but also, getting through professional aspects. And of course, my dad and I were really close. Unfortunately, he died in my early 20s. But he always told me that I could do things. I was like the tomboy that he never had. And he always, pushed me into areas that were not typically girl stereotyped things, like fishing, climbing, high jumping. And that wasn't good for, someone of my size, because I'm only 5'3". But other sports and activities that were not, mainly a lot of women go into. And I think that just helped you to persevere. And so I learned a lot from him. And I mean, even my sons have taken on the whole climbing and rock climbing and climbing trees as well. As children, they, I'd have heart attacks because they'd be at the top of the tree. And I'm like, yeah, I wonder where they get that from. Definitely me. So my father was a big influence on me.
Awesome. Yeah. And you said something that is very interesting, which is look for people that you admire and, go after them, ask them for help and mentorship. So I think this is definitely a great tip for everybody as well.
So Christine, you were right. Our answer a bit intertwined. So the first one I want to acknowledge is my mother. She started her career as a teacher. She added a social study degree and a law degree to that. And she mixed it up and created like a ways of working and behavioral training for jailers. So imagine that, she traveled all of the jails of Quebec and went teach these very strong men how to listen better, how to implement, discussion techniques. I was inspired by two things: the strength of our ability to integrate so different fields of information into something practical, and to drive this knowledge as if nothing else was different into a definite male-dominated sector. She did that while raising my sister and I, and telling us everything is possible if you put your heart, your brain, and your passion to succeed. One thing I found interesting in what you said, Christine, is leadership of other women. So at Accenture, in the years just before the run for partnership, I had the opportunity to be sponsored and mentored, because there are a difference between sponsorship and mentorship by two female partner. And what I learned from them is to lead with content and to have your voice heard. Look at diversity of thoughts, of colors, of anything as something that will regroup people and not something that will separate. And so I think I try to remember that and lead by example for others. But leading with content is a good way to do that.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
Genevieve, just a question. How long was it till you had a woman leader in your career? I'm just curious.
Probably within the first 5 years, I had two. In consulting, you change client, and then after that, no, within the first 5 years, I had two, like team leaders, and then after others. But yeah, I guess I was lucky in that sense.
Yeah, I'm jealous. No.
Yeah. And Elizabeth and Alina, I think if you also can talk a little bit maybe about an experience from your upbringing, from your life that shaped your career path in a way, that would be awesome.
Sure, yeah. The experience from Genevieve and Christine are so impressive. Yeah, inspiring to me. Thank you for sharing. And for me, actually, it was the success of a company and its founder that brought me on the journey of computer science. And it's Microsoft and its founder, Bill Gates. I was in elementary school, and at that time, I'm not sure if you remember, the Windows operating system dominated the entire market. Almost every computer installed the Windows system from Microsoft. And I felt like, wow, it was so cool. I asked my teacher why Bill Gates can build Windows system. And my teacher, he said, because he did computer science at school, because he knew how to write code. And I thought, yes, I can do that too. I wanted to do computer science as well. I wanted to build popular products. And maybe even more, I want people to value my products enough to pay for it. This is why I chose computer science as my major at the university. And my research was about high performance computing in my master's program. It's the success of the Microsoft, the success of the Windows system inspired me to this journey. It feels like a North Star to me. It helped me find my purpose, find my passion and the direction. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, what a great story. You're very determined when you got that, and that's very cool. Okay. Elizabeth?
So I guess the experience, I'll start a little bit in the middle of the story. So kind of following up from Alina's, like how she ended up in computer science, for me, it was a very different story. I'm from Cape Breton Island originally. So Cape Breton, when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, and Christine, I don't think we should apologize for our age, right? Age is wonderful. If that's where we get our experience and our opportunities. So I think we need to celebrate it, because women are always apologizing or trying not to talk about our age. But so because I went through and grew up in an area that has lost a lot of industry, had a lot of unemployment, I remember sitting and speaking with my dad in the living room. And I'm like, after I was just about to pick, like, where am I going to go with regard to program? And I said, I need a job and to be able to take care of myself when I graduated. I knew that. And that's what brought me through to computer science and tech. But the experience that I'm going to go back even further now that would have really, for me, just influenced who I am today is very much, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So through my life, she had a business, a college business degree, but she decided to take care of me and my brother. So as we grew older, she would pick up other jobs. And one of those odd jobs was a cleaner at the local school. Just a 4 big room school, a big old schoolhouse that both me and my brother went to. And I remember vividly, after my dad finished his work, we would all eat supper and after school, and we would walk across that field and we would go and clean that school together and help my mom. So for me, I really learned about teamwork, about every job has a contribution to a company, every single one. So, and that's why regardless of your position in a company, for me, especially before pandemic happened and now we're all working in different areas, when I would see the custodians or the cleaners come, every time I would stop and talk to them and thank them for their job. So that's an experience that really impacted me.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. Yeah. No, I think everything that everybody shared is very inspiring, and it talks. I think some of you mentioned, your moms, and that also I think is the part that we want to discuss here, which is about women empowering themselves and going into the IT world. So I think it was great to start with this to inspire our conversation. So in starting this topic on women and IT and also leadership on the technology sector, I wanted to address to you, Alina. We know that to this day, of course, I think as we talk, this have been changing through time, but to this day, 25% of the workers on STEAM, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, are only 25% are women. So I want to understand from you, from your career so far, have you ever had a barrier that you had to overcome, that you feel it can be related to that somebody could question you as being a woman in tech? So it would be great to hear your experience and what you have as a advice for everybody listening to.
Sure. Oh, this is an insightful question, Julia. Thank you for bringing it up. Yes, women are still underrepresented in STEM, and the ratio is even lower in the field of AI. I do remember being one of the very few females in my master's program. When sometimes you need to team up with your peers, and you can find that. And right before the pandemic, I attended a machine learning workshop. There were only 5 women among about 100 attendees. Yeah, so the reasons are complicated, but I believe one of the most significant barriers is the stereotype. I recall at the very beginning of our meeting, Christine mentioned stereotype in her journey as well. So my view is quite aligned with hers. So not just the stereotype in society, but also the stereotype within ourselves. Research shows that women are less likely to picture ourselves as scientists, engineers in their career. There is a Netflix show called The Queen's Gambit. The story is about a female chess player, Bess, raised to the top of the chess world. Maybe you have watched it. And Becky,
I love that movie. It's great.
Me too. Yeah. Back in 1950s, chess tournaments were dominated by male players, and they called the chess a man's game. But the success of Bess broke the stereotype. And we know who are the first programmer. Her name is Ada. So she is a lady. So if today we can break the stereotype in tech, if we can have more girls, young women, picture themselves as scientists or engineers in the future, we will have more and more women in tech for sure. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I think even this panel represents another woman can watch it and relate it to it. So yeah, thank you so much for sure, Alina. And going on to leadership as well, I think we have a few representatives here that are on the leadership side of IT. which is also something, as you were mentioning, that even Christine with 25 years didn't have yet a woman leader. So Geneviève, for you, you have been in this sector, in this industry for over 25 years. So as a female executive, what was the most important risk you took, and maybe how that helped you shape your career towards leadership?
So that's quite a homework to receive such a question. Very good question. Thank you. And what I want to share today is probably the most recent risk that I took by accepting Mr. Kruger's challenge to lead the deployment, the design of Kruger's own artificial intelligence and machine learning program. So imagine that wonderful, innovating man hiring one of the first few female executive in 114 years, a business major, and asking her to lead the conversation around that amongst manufacturing engineering men group. But I said, why not? Because like I said before, the passion is learning, putting content together, creating links. And that's, I think, one of the very much great power of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So what I face the challenge with is how do we bring that into Kruger's culture? So you've heard the saying, culture is breakfast, is strategy for breakfast. And so I said, what it is about Kruger that will give wings to an AI/ML program? And we tapped into really the entrepreneurial spirit and the fact that people want to influence the Industry 4.0 footprint adoption. We have a talent crisis ongoing. We have a lot of people not wanting to work night shift, to work away from home, to travel. So it impacts every industry, manufacturing, transportation. So how do we use technology to the advantage? And so I think the most important challenge was to invite others to embrace it. And to face that AI/ML and to face that technology is something that we all need to contribute to succeed together. So challenges like that, opportunities like that will come when you expected the least. So one thing what Alina was saying about women in technology, some of my colleagues, engineers, they said, why is that? You're hiring all these engineers in your IT team, female, and they didn't even study IT. And I think one thing, women will inspire others to join. But we should not just assemble in one group. We should also ask people and encourage people to fly and disseminate the knowledge. But what I've seen toward my career is taking the risk sometimes to be the first, so that then after that you can welcome others. So in our cybersecurity team now we have 2 girls in our AI team. I also have 2 of our 8 members. So unfortunately, Alina, this is still the 25% count, but you need to welcome people and raise the group one at a time.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you start, right? I think you definitely is the right mindset. And as you mentioned, you go for it and then you bring people together and put them there. That's so nice. Yeah. And Christine, I wanted to address this question to you, since you have been on the automotive sector, which is also known for being a more male-dominated space, and in IT. So it's kind of combining it, and also with your background. So thinking about that, how would you describe your leadership style? And would you say it's any different from the male counterparts you work with currently?
Well, that's a loaded question. Well, first, my leadership style's like, I'm open, I'm honest, I'm transparent. I don't keep things bottled up inside, but more proactively and making sure that there's trust that's built up between my staff and I. Not that my male counterparts don't. I don't want to say that. I have a couple stories where, I remember I got promoted at Rogers, and one of the telco guys came to me and said, "Good luck, as a woman, you will not succeed." And I'm like, whoa, talk about a blow in the gut, right? He was sarcastic, but, I was kind of, early in my career at Rogers, and, it kind of affected me. And that's not the first time that stuff like that has happened. So I think men and women, deal with things differently. So persevere is the best way I can suggest to people. I did, and it doesn't. I am happy that it doesn't happen as often now. So I think the world that we live in has changed. I've been part of the IT industry from its infancy, and we've come a long way. There's still a long way to go, as everyone here has stated, just because of the percentage of women in STEM, et cetera. There's been a lot of chauvinistic remarks throughout the years. But again, it's less now, and I see it less and less. So, part of me says, parents are teaching their children well. I had a Bell vendor, won't say who, knew me at Bell and knew my leadership style back then, right? And I was, I was trying to prove myself. I was very, what would be aggressive, but I was described, that B word. Women are bossy, right? Aggressive, and men are decisive or true leaders. Like, I'm not sure why we have these gender stereotypes, but these are things to look out for. And you know what? We should correct them, right? We have to correct, younger girls that they're not bossy. They're just as decisive as their male counterparts. So leadership wise, I want to elevate my teams. I like to think of myself as a servant leader. But, throughout my career, that has changed. And I think I'm in a really happy place where I am now. And I'm hoping, I do what's right for the company, but I also do what's right for the people around me. I hire talented people. I listen to them. I always want to listen. I have one-on-ones all the time. And my door, I have an open door policy. So if you guys have a problem, or let's whiteboard something. COVID, was a bit of a challenge how to whiteboard. But we're occasionally going back into the office now. We need to embrace people. We need to, I'm a very caring leader. I care about all my staff. I care about their careers, but I also care about them personally. And I have to have that connection. That's just the way that I am. So, it's interesting how the years have evolved, and I've been able to see it. Something that I give my young women engineers, I give them Lean In. From Sheryl Sandberg, and I give that book to them just as hey, I think you should read this. And maybe as we get older and as they get old, as the years progress, that won't be as important. But a few people that I have given that to, they said, geez, it's been so challenging. I've got a new baby, and I've got my husband's career and my career, or my partner's career, and, kids to worry about. It's really hard to do that balance. And I think if anything, COVID has really helped us to have that balance. I know sometimes you work more when you work at home, but it allows you to take your kid to daycare or take your kid and do a few things. It's been challenging in other areas, but how to look after kids if you're on Zoom calls. And when we first started the Zoom calls or Teams calls, when we were at home, we had like cats running across, and kids running across and grabbing hair and climbing all over people. But I think things have normalized a little bit, and we're trying to get a handle on how that is. And the best way that I can do is support my staff, and we're only as good as our weakest link. So whoever that weakest link is, we got to elevate them. We need to make sure that they have the skills that we want, and think for the future, instead of hiring outside, let's try and skill up our people. That's what we're doing now at Cox Automotive, because AI is coming, and we don't know a lot about AI. We're fairly immature on that side of things, but we're learning, and I want my teams to learn. I don't want to hire outside, want to build from within, and that's where you get the loyalty as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. And you were talking about those stereotypes on the world, right? I think this is one of the most nowadays. I feel that the kind of thing that you listen, maybe those days, people wouldn't say it anymore. But I think to this day, what remains is that small stereotype of, oh, this person is a little bossy, and it's not about that when you actually ask. So I think we always also need to let people know that it's not the best way to say it, even because even women also can kind of continue those stereotypes, right? So this is something that we also
I think sometimes women can be their own worst critics too, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly.
we have to support each other, and channels like this and what you guys are doing at Avenue Code is really great, because it's letting us talk about it and letting us talk about the stereotypes, and kind of being open about what we experience and how we handle things, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think even men listening, they'll probably think, oh, probably next time I would address it using this word.
Yeah, I mean, and even if we can change one person, how they describe that's great. That's a step forward. I look at that as a step forward. Sure. I don't know, Genevieve or Ali or Alina or Elizabeth, if you've got stories about those kind of stereotypes, but it's I'm sure it's rampant.
It is. But you always have to have the touch to call it out or to change the behavior. So I do it as jokes, like again yesterday in an operating committee. So men, what do you think about that? I said, oh, and what about us women? They said, of course. So you have to make sure it's heard, but that it is inclusive, and it provides an invitation to communication.
Yes, for sure. And Elizabeth, I also wanted to hear from you. We were talking a lot about different kind of leaderships. Christine was telling us about her servant leadership style. So how would you describe your leadership philosophy?
So I would say, especially today more than ever, we have an amazing opportunity to put humanity at the center of leadership. And I think that is, in all of the horrible that came with the pandemic, this is a gift I think we have. And I think, it goes back to some of what my colleagues have been talking about here. And if we put that humanity back in the heart of leadership, leadership will look so much different. Organizations will look so much different. And I think what people can achieve together will be limitless. So I think, we have to be very intentional about this. And sometimes, if I had to say this even 5 years ago, they'd be like, oh, she's soft, right? Going back to the stereotypes. But I think, what? We have to embrace it. And I think female leaders, all four of us here, all of those who are listening right now or to the recording, has an opportunity. I believe everybody is a leader at every role that they are in an organization. Doesn't matter your title. It doesn't matter your place in an organization. You are a leader. And, leaders are not always the person carrying the flag at the front of the parade. Sometimes we're at the very back picking things up, and that's okay. It's making sure that the team, the parade, all goes together where it's supposed to go. So I think, for me, some of the core of that has been very much a self-awareness and a deepening of my own self-awareness. And that could be how, I reacted in stressful situations. It could be my demeanor. It could be many, many things. And that's something I was very fortunate to deepen through my executive MBA, a lot of focus on that, because once we can be more self-aware, we can self-manage better. And if I'm more self-aware, I can be better aware of other people, right? That's EQ, the emotional intelligence. And then I can also be a better manager, better supporter, whatever it is that they may need. And I would suggest we don't talk about self-reflection enough at all, especially in technology. But it really is the core of, when you think of it, giving the space to others, and then going back to, putting humanity and leadership takes a lot of listening. It takes a lot of putting others first. It takes a lot of understanding or listening to other ideas and seeing how they all connect together. Realizes they each have a voice and something to contribute.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you mentioned something that for me also it's very true. It's when you know yourself well, when you understand your emotions and you can pass it along, it's much better to lead other people, to interact, to relate. So, and make people relate and want to inspire other people, really. So yeah, that's thank you so much for that. And as we are talking about empowering women and advice also for women that are listening, so Christine, I wanted to ask you if you would give an advice for yourself when you were 20 years old, or is there anything that you would say that maybe that you know now that could be interesting?
Probably lots, but I don't think my 20-year-old self would listen.
That's the point.
I think, listening is a huge skill. And I think I mentioned before, I had a mentor that, told me, actively listen, you need to listen more. And he was spot on. And it's not a skill. I mean, it's easy to say that, but it is really not a skill for me anyways. It's not a skill that comes natural to me. I want to chime in. I want to, well, what about this? Especially during, Elizabeth mentioned knowing yourself, especially when I'm in that corner and there's, outages going on. I just want to solve, I want to react. I want to get things done because I'm a doer. So, I think actively listening is really helpful. And for me, I had to learn it over many, many years. And I continue to learn it. So it's an ongoing thing. So that's probably the biggest advice that was already given to me in my 20s, but, to really work on that throughout your career. And the other aspect is devil's in the details. As a leader, and sometimes as you go into management positions, you don't understand some of the, or at least from my perspective, I didn't understand a lot of the technical details as I became further removed from the technology. And I think sometimes throughout your career, you have to take that path one way or the other, unfortunately. And I did take the management role, and I did take more the leadership side. And I've started coding again recently so that I could upgrade my skills, learning Java again. So it's doing my head a little, in a little bit, but it's good because it's keeping me current. And then our move to cloud, is I'm learning a lot with that as well. So never stop learning. Even if you think you know something, there's probably other ways of implementing them and other solutions that are out there. So don't be blind to them, embrace them and listen to other people's, comments on what their advice is. And then together, collectively, you can make decisions. And that's when you have more cohesion as well. So, but again, as a 20-year-old, I probably wouldn't listen to me.
Yeah, it's a great answer. It came a question from the audience, which is exactly what advice would you give to a woman starting in the tech career? So I think you were able to answer that completely for sure. So continuous learning, listen more also, right? So sometimes we're too eager to do things. So yeah, thank you for that, for sure. No and Alina, would you have also tips for women that are entering IT, and especially the machine learning world that you are so in love with? And as you were mentioning, it's not so much of a woman presence.
Oh yeah, sure. I love the advice from Christine. For example, listen carefully because it's crucial to a good communication. And also keep learning is important, especially in IT, in AI, in machine learning. These fields are fast growing. So we need to catch up and we need to keep learning. It's a lifetime goal. Yeah, so thank you for sharing. And from my end, there is a thing that I wish someone could told me when I just started my career. It's be braver, be bolder. When I graduated, I joined IBM as a software developer for relational databases. But after about a year, I realized that I had a great passion for data science, especially after I collaborated with a friend. He worked for Google and we collaborated on some side projects. And it's kind of like the true calling. The problem is the skill sets of a data scientist is totally different from a software engineer. Data scientists need to know statistics, machine learning algorithms, and end-to-end pipeline from data cleaning to model evaluation. What if I failed? There are lots of risks and uncertainties. But one day, a friend shared a YouTube video with me. It was a street interview with seniors in London. They were asked, "Oh, what advice would you give to your younger self?" And surprisingly, many seniors mentioned about the same thing. They said, "Oh, I didn't risk things. I was a scared person. I wish I had taken the risk and created opportunities. There's no point to living a life if you don't try things. Just go for it." So the interview was so inspiring to me, and I decided to go for data scientist roles immediately. Today, when I look back, it was the best thing I can do for myself. And also, Genevieve, I heard her answer. She mentioned about risk. I quite agree with you. Yes. So I would suggest be braver, be bolder.
This is awesome. I'm pretty sure somebody that is listening right now maybe will make a decision based on what you mentioned. So it keeps repeating, right? So thank you so much, Alina. Yeah.
Thank you. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, and Genevieve, if you think also about your career, what do you think really helped you make your career as a woman, and how can women develop their leadership skills and be bold, as Alina was saying?
Well, a lot has been said. I think inspiration, seek to make tangible contributions. Like, don't get into paradigm, don't make hypotheses. And even if they're invalidated, like the art of innovation and learning is making hypotheses. Sometimes you learn more by failing. And that's why internal phishing campaigns are so good. Because then they can, okay, I made a mistake, but now I know, and I'll be more attentive. So I think this concept can be applied in so many ways. So listen to the industry you work in, but also listen to completely different industries, because there's transferable knowledge. Be a spark within your personal life and within your professional life. Get stuff started. Yeah. There, Christine said, listen. Alina said, be bold. But yeah, that's the only two humble thing I will add, I guess, to these fantastic women I'm sharing this panel with.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. And Elizabeth, would you also add any advice for women that are looking to grow in their career, in their business, even as entrepreneurs as well?
Yeah, so I think I would recommend, and over the last number of years, I would say, especially over the last 4 years, as we're in this digital transformation, for anyone, whether it's growing within their own organization or an entrepreneur, every tech needs some business acumen, and every business acumen needs tech. And I think this is where our future will be. I think programs, academic programs, college programs will expand to include this naturally in the future. But for now, I think it's really important. One, remember that nobody does anything alone. So if you have a business side, but then not the tech side, find where you can find that complement, and vice versa, even if you're in an organization. And I think that is where greatness comes from. That is where we can do really anything that's limitless, when we work with others that complement our skills and towards a common vision. And so that's really what I would say. And I think the one thing I want to just add to this, and it goes back to something Christine and Genevieve were talking about with regard to mentorship and sponsorship. It is so important for each one of us to look where we can lift up. If we're climbing a mountain, we're each on a peak, but we also have to realize this might be just a base camp, but there's others who are maybe, trying to reach that mountaintop above us higher. And we all have an opportunity to mentor or sponsor the next woman who's beside us or coming up. And it doesn't matter what their title is or where they're at in their career or how old or how young they are. But I think we all, regardless of gender identity, we all have an opportunity to play in order to really show women that there is a new level that they can attain and they don't have to do it alone.
Awesome. Yeah. And actually, to finalize, that was going to be my last question. How can other women support women inside the organization? So you have on the day-to-day, what are you doing? What do you would say that other women can do?
Well, that is one trick. I think seek mentors or sponsors, not only women. You can learn a lot from men as well. And have the conversation. One thing I tried to say, I read that book, try not to have lunch alone. It was quite difficult during COVID, but now as we go back to work, sit down at that table when there's someone you don't know and learn something new. So
our company recently implemented coffee chats, virtual coffee chats. And to your point, Genevieve, it's a sit down 15-20 minutes of someone that you don't know in the company. And you can talk about your careers, or you can just talk, like today I had a coffee chat with one of the gals, and she just bought a Tesla. So we were chatting a lot about that. And because we're in the automotive industry, I was interested in how the online journey was, because that's what we're doing. We're creating that digital online experience to buy and lease cars, right? So I learned a lot from her, and it was great. And we're going to have more coffee chats. So although it started as just a hey, how are you? It's moving into more conversations and enabling people to meet other people that they wouldn't normally work with.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God, that was truly inspiring. I think our goal, our intention here today was to get people to understand and learn a little bit about your stories. And I think with that, learn from it and listen to those experiences. I think, as Alina was mentioning, and I think everybody, there was some point in your life where you learn about what other people say about their experiences. So I definitely think that you were able to do that today. So I really appreciate and thank you so much, all four of you, for being here. The question that I had here, I'm not sure if we have more questions coming. It was just on advice for women that are starting a career in tech, but I think we covered a lot of that. So yeah, I think with that, we can wrap up for today. And thank you so much. Thank you for everybody out there. And if you have questions, you can reach out individually. I think those four women would be more than happy to answer something on LinkedIn and start up a conversation and help everybody also. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Julia, for the opportunity. It was great to meet all of you.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you. And good luck to everyone on their career journeys.
Thank you. It's great meeting everyone here.
Thank you.